Well, welcome back. This is video two on setting a goal and what you do to reach that goal. And just a quick review before we get going. So, number one, I hope that you had fun in with your homework and you got those things done that were requested. Very important. Now, as a note, I've utilized this idea for years. And anytime I'm trying to get somewhere or do something, I run through this idea and take a look at all those things. So this is something that you can do on a monthly basis or on a step-by-step basis. I mean, the first goal is going to be, you want to get to silver, then next one, then redo it to go to gold, redo it to go to platinum. So I did that along the way. I've done it for projects that I've done. I've looked at, I had a yard project I wanted to do, so I set the goal and, what was I going to do, et cetera, et cetera. Why was I doing it? All of these kind of things. And it just gave me everything got lined up, what had to be a part of what I needed to do. Now, in other areas of business, and I've had some successful businesses, I did that with it as well. So this is a universal platform that you can use. We're using it specifically for Nikon. So anyway, the homework assignment was to start with your goal. What was it? And you were to write your goal. We're using this 2000 a month as an example. The purpose. Why was this goal being set? What are you trying to accomplish? Think big, think in futures. Then you went in to look at the policy that you would follow, who you were going to follow, what information you were going to use so that you stay on track with knowing what works and what doesn't. Then the basic plan was, you were going to build the Nikon distributorship, and in this example, it was a profitable platinum distributorship that generates 2,000 per month on an ongoing monthly basis. And then you got into the program, which were the step-by-step activities that needed to be done in order to reach the goal and fulfill the purpose. So there was a program purpose. In this particular case, it was 2,000. Years might have been different. Program completion time, 1 year or sooner. I think th this is one of those areas that is based on your time frame and what you can do. And again, you could start off, well, it'd be a year, and then you find out that after a couple of months, well, you can do it in 6 months. So then you change it, you redo it and change it to 6 months. So this is a workable tool. It's not stuck. Oh, I 1 year. No, I got no. You can do it. So the major target here is reach platinum by December 31st or sooner with an income of 2000. And because this is being done at the beginning of the year, that makes sense. If it was, you started in May or June, and a year from now would be the May or June of the following year. Um, so that's how you'd look at that. And then, of course, you had the primary target, which was find three key people to do the same, because we're a people business. And it takes people because you earn when others do things. So that becomes simple. And the vital target here was to get a mentor, find somebody to help, and then continue to do the activities that are creating results that you want. You got that. And then there was the operating targets. And these are really the do steps. And you'll see how that falls into place as we move forward. So, to get your product, start creating your list, get with your sponsor to evaluate and discuss this, start creating your story based on who you are and your circumstances, practice this with your sponsor, learn as much as you can about the compensation plan, learn how the money is made, and review how the business works, the process of the business. Those are all valuable videos. And then, of course, the vital target was learning and understanding your compensation plan because this is what plan everybody goes on, what everybody does, and how we play in this business called Nikon. And it's very important. You want to work out in detail with your sponsor and mentor what it looks like and how to make the 2,000 per month so that you have a realistic structure that you're working on creating. And then you wanted the last part of last video was draw out the structure on a piece of paper to get a full idea of what's required to reach your objective and see the ideal scene section for a picture and description. So you had a copy of this document so you could have seen that and taken a look at it And some of you may have moved forward, but let's move forward and see what the rest of this program states. So now we want to create your launch strategy. So again, having experience here in launching different business interests that I've had, you go through, you do that initial part of, okay, why are we doing this? What are we trying to accomplish? What policies are going to use to follow to make this work? What's the overall plan? And then now we got to get started. So we got to launch the business. We got to open the door. And the idea here is like an opening a store or a practice, a profession. If you were an attorney, you'd hang your shingle. If you were a doctor, you'd have your doctor's office. You would have forms of communication. You'd attract attention. So that's the basic idea. And so, but most important, you want to find people who have the issues that they want to resolve. And if you want to earn a good living by doing this, then you need others who want the same thing. And they're pretty easy to find if you ask the right questions. So in this particular case, I had it was an example, and there's videos on YouTube about this as well. My neighbors, Ralph and Jerry. Now, in the sense of once we figured out their issue and they had an issue that they wanted to resolve, they were very open to understand what to do. They wanted to learn. We set up this whole thing was set up the same way, and we created a launch strategy date, which you're going to see, which was the beginning of the year, and was to go silver. And at that time, it was a little different in structure, but same concept, same idea. We trained for a couple of weeks together, and I had them read, I had them study, I had them practice, I had them learn. Primarily Jerry. Ralph was the behind the scenes guy because he was building his house, but Jerry was the active distributor. And then we had the launch strategy. And in this particular case, we set up having in-home meetings in her house for a period of 3 weeks. And I would come and do the meeting, and she would provide the people and the refreshments and little snacks. And we had a product display that she created, and that was it. So it was pretty simple, but it was week one, week two, week three. So we did the presentation on week one. We had, I think, about six people showed up, and in that, one decided they wanted to participate. So once the meeting concluded and we worked that out and she signed up, then her instructions were to come to the second week and bring her people as well. And on the second meeting that Jerry set up, her second person showed up and did the same thing with her. And the first person brought some people, and then by the third meeting, the third person showed up. So what here was what was really interesting about this launch strategy. She got better and more effective at getting people to come to her meetings by the time the second and the third happened. And also, we'll talk about another thing that happened with her first person. By the time we hit the third meeting, I already had set up meetings with her in her home to keep building. We'll talk about that when we get into the building of the business. But anyway, okay. So create your launch strategy of what you want to do. Now, maybe it's a series of videos. Maybe it's a series of ABCs that you do with your sponsor or your mentor. Um, you'll work that out. Okay. Now, the compensation plan starts at direct and it works its way up to Royal Diamond. The first major level that needs to be achieved, and again, you can't move to the next level up until you do the prior level. So, you got to do direct, then you do senior, then you do executive, then you do silver, then you do gold, then you do platinum, then you do, diamond, then you do royal diamond. So each step leads to the next step. So your first target here is to going silver or helping somebody else to go silver. And in this particular case, if you're trying to go, let's say you're already a silver and you're wanting to go to gold, it's going to be then helping somebody else build their business. Or maybe you have to start over again and find somebody new, and then it'll be to help them go silver. So here's what it says in the Nikken policies and procedures. This is the detail of going silver. 100 ppv, 6,000 pgpv in a month, achieve the organizational point volume of at least 1,000 outside the primary leg. Now, what's the primary leg? Well, the primary leg's the part of your organization that does the most volume. So call that leg one. So outside of that leg, you have to have another leg or another part of the organization that you've got, you or your retail business that does 1,000 points. And outside those two, you have to have another area that does 500. So don't get hung up on the language here. Draw it out on a piece of paper, and it's really easy to see what your requirements are. So I like to do it one, two, three. So you got yourself, and then you got your primary leg, your secondary leg, and a third leg because you want three people to build this business. So that makes it real simple, and you don't have to worry about anything. Now, also, you don't have to track any of this stuff. The company does it for you. And but you need to know about it, and you'll see that when we get into the drawing out your organization as you started to practice already. Now, the monthly requirements, a silver 100 personal point volume, and that could be your purchases or a sale to a retail customer, and maintain a personal group volume of 1,500 points. So that means that once you're a silver, you're going to have some directs, you're going to have some execs, you're going to have some seniors, and their volume has to, and you got your personal activity, so that has to equate to 1,500, including your 100 ppv. So it could be 100 and 1,400. I mean, however you want to look at it, but again, we'll draw this out so you see it. Most important part here are the benefits, and it's 20% retail profit, 20% personal rebate, up to 20% personal group CV override, and then again, the 6% leadership bonus. Now, this is truly the benefit of being a silver is the 6% leadership bonus on two groups below you that are silver and above, and that two generations. So this is where the growth of this business happens, and you're going to see how this works. Now, there's a video that I created a few years ago. I tweaked it and brought it up to speed to 2026 video building silver. Here's the link. You'll also see this in the project section. It's the same thing. And so I would review that video and then I draw your silver plan or someone else's silver plan that you're helping to build. And so you have a complete understanding of what needs to be done. Okay. Now, when you or someone you sponsor starts, they move up from direct distributor through senior executive, finally through to silver. The reason why the first goal should be silver is that this is where all the available income sources start to kick in. Now, consider the earlier ranks as the apprentice activities. Phase one, learning how the business works, what one needs to do so they can make it work. Once this is accomplished, then the rest of the business is helping others go silver, gold, platinum, diamond, royal, and in turn, you will as well. So this is the idea here. And if I look at my track record or any of the other successful royal diamonds in the business, this is exactly what they did. All right, so now you got that down, set the launch date and work, finalize your approach strategy and your sponsor and mentor. There's a number of videos on inviting. You find those on the Royal Alliance as well. Review your list of potential people and then start the contact process and invite them to your meeting or to your event. Do ABCs with your sponsor, mentor, someone knowledgeable. Now, what's the ABC? Well, the ABC is a practice, not just related to Nikken. It's used in all industries, where you have A as the expert, your B, and C is your new prospect. So the idea is you're going to hook up your new prospect with the expert. And it's a very simple process. It doesn't take much to do. And it really works well when the person that you're talking to has interest in what we're talking about. So, somebody says to me, you're on the phone. I've used this many times and they've asked a question. I've already set this up where my expert, my mentor is on the line waiting for a call. And I will call them up and, say, John has a question I can't seem to find the answer to. Can you help me out? Here's the idea behind the purpose of the ABC. Number one, you have the relationship with C. A is completely outside of that relationship, but has been given the position of being the expert. And so when the person wants to solve the problem, the expert's advice becomes the issue. You go to a doctor and you ask the doctor, well, I've got this. And he says, well, this is what you got. This is what you need to do to handle it. And what do? You handle it. So again, that's the whole idea. We want to build confidence in the prospect to understand how it works, why it works, how the benefits they can get, so on and so forth. And typically, when you use a good A, myself or say Michael or whomever you want to use, who have the experience, who have the success, then they take away any of the uncertainties that you would have. So it's a great thing to do. You want to see the prospecting in the project section list. It's a great video on that as well. And then, of course, here you want to sign up as many distributors as you can. Um, and the reason why you want to sign up as many because you really don't know what's going to happen until it happens. And sometimes when you sign up a distributor at the beginning, they're not sure, and then over a period of time, they get clicks in. Uh, some go right away, so do that. But the objective here, help them reach, the senior level, executive level, and then silver. And when you find somebody that really wants to go, then you hook up with that person and help them get there. Because that's how this works is when somebody lights up like a light bulb and they want to do this business and they create volume, they become silver, they create silvers underneath them, they move to higher ranks and so on and so forth. So here's the vital target with this. When you have someone who really wants to build, help them build and understand the value of one distributor in your group who creates a lot of volume. So I didn't put anything in writing here, but as an exercise, you want to take a look at, well, what if you created on your front line a diamond distributor who did 100,000 points in volume a month? What if you created a platinum that did 50,000 in points volume per month? You want to understand the value of that creation because that's going to give you a benefit. And you want to understand that. That's why you play around with your compensation plan and practice. That's why you draw it out. You're going to see that coming forward. Now, keep this up until you or the person you are working with gets to silver. Then you redo this plan and scale to move them to gold. And then once you reach gold, then you redo this plan to get to platinum. So every step of the compensation plan can be worked out and achieved by following this plan. And you just have to line up this what you have to do and then do it. And again, we'll get into that section probably on the third video. Now, keep in mind your future and understand that once you go silver, the focus is on creating silvers under you. And as this continues, so does then the growth of your organization and the increase in rank. So if you were to build two silvers underneath you and you had some open group, you could see how you could easily go gold. If you were to build 4 or 5 silvers underneath you and they were producing, you could see how you could go platinum. So it's all based on the same stuff. It's people moving up the ranks. That's what creates your advancement in the ranks. So it's your success really depends on helping others become successful. Now, after you reach silver, the next step is gold. I put out here what gold represents based on the policies and procedures from the back office. So you want to print that out so you've got a good idea of what it is and apply it. And note when you draw out your ideal scene, you will see that to reach your objective, you will build far beyond silver and far beyond one silver. Keep in mind how the business works and keep the focus on the activities of those in your organization. As you approach silver, you're going to have a couple of key distributors start setting their sights on going silver. So once you make it, then they make it shortly thereafter. And again, from experience, sometimes people limited their scope of activity, understanding, and looking at the future to just, oh, I'm going to go silver. and they did what it took to go silver, but they didn't set anything up to take it beyond that. So they didn't, have the right people in place. They didn't, build underneath them to support. So this becomes a very important aspect of understanding that you go to one level, but how do you get to the next level? And you can get to the next level by planning ahead of time. So when I was building silver, it was really simple process. So our program was a slight bit different, but the same idea. So now my mentor taught me to focus on one silver at a time, one leg at a time. So I sponsored this guy. His name was George, and George brought in a gentleman by the name of Jay, and Jay brought in another gentleman by the name of Al. Now we've got three in a row, and Al brought in a gentleman by the name of Moshe, and Moshe brought in another guy underneath him. And those four, George, Jay, and Al, they're doing their sponsoring, but Moshe and the guy underneath it really lit up well. And by the time we reached the end of the month, we did, I think, 48,000 points. And four of us went, let's see, I went silver, George went silver, Jay went silver, Al went silver. Yeah, five of us went silver. Now, what's really important about this, if you draw this out on a piece of paper and see the depth, you saw this in the video, the energy at the bottom also fed everything up above. And now we had five people that were had sponsored more than one person, and had their sights set on going gold for two reasons. One, they were informed about it. One, they understood how the plan worked and wanted to get there. And so did I. But what happened was when I had that one leg, when I went to my second person, which happened to be Howard, that I talked about in the previous video, it was already, I had a story to tell him and show him how what we did with George. And so when he saw that along with what his benefits were, then it was okay, this is what we're going to do. And he did the exact same thing. And names are slipping my mind, but his first person was exciting. That person got us to a lady, Rusty, in Arizona, and Rusty got us to a gentleman in Hawaii. And again, same thing, down three or four levels. Howard had a team. They went silver in that month that he came in and opened the door for him to move to gold. My first leg was starting to move to gold, which got me third person, I should say. And I ran out of people to talk to. So I put an ad in the paper and I found my third person. And he was a commercial realtor and he understood he had a list of people a mile long. Won't bore you with all the details there, but it's pretty darn exciting. And we went and talked, and then he went gold in about 60 days. So that got me to platinum in the sense of having the three golds, and I also built three more people and got to platinum with six silvers as well in the course of the year. So again, your advancement is very important, and it's based on helping other people reach their goal. And it's also looking forward and looking into the future so that when you have somebody that's starting to work on silver, there are going to be people underneath them that are also in the same boat. And that's where you want to focus your attention on them going to silver, them going to gold, them going to their next level, because the plan is the same for everybody. So when you get on that plan, the Nikan compensation plan, you start at direct, you go to senior, executive, silver, gold, plat. So everybody's doing the same thing. So it's just a matter of awareness and so on and so forth. Okay, let's go into projects. Now, projects are things that you're going to do to help you complete a program step above. And here are the projects that need to be done, which we've already outlined. And it's number one was creating your story. So while you're doing your work, you got this project that you're creating your story and you're learning what to say and how to say it. You're practicing it with your mentor, your sponsor, your spouse, or your friend, whatever you're doing, to learn how to do it. And best way is to just go out and do lots of contacts with people. Um, I've created a video here to show you how to basically create your story. Uh, there's there's so many areas that teaches this kind of stuff, but it's very important. Your story is who you are, it's what you're all about, and it's designed to attract attention. And I think watch the video and you'll enjoy that as a project. There's another is building your silver distributorship, which we already talked about. Here's the link on doing that. And then here's a video I did on prospecting and qualifying. Now, when I was working in other arenas, specifically the oil and gas arena, the insurance arena, the car arena, those jobs, one of the most important thing was to make sure that the person that I was prospecting or talking to as a potential customer was qualified for what was being asked for. So is really an important issue. And the same thing applies here because by observation, this business works when somebody has the necessity to make it work. And if they don't have the necessity to make it work, it's sometimes hard to make it work and they don't make it. They don't put in the time. They get distracted by other things in life. They don't have the necessity level. So, what's the deal? They don't learn how to communicate. They don't have the necessity to learn how to communicate. They don't understand the compensation plan. They don't have the necessity because they don't need the money. I mean, all of these factors roll into qualifying. So I'm going to give you this example as for what you want to look at here. When I was doing the oil and gas investment, it was a telemarketing program. We were given names of people and we contacted them. We had a script that we were given. We practiced that. And once we learned what the script was, you gave it verbatim yourself. And you called somebody up and find out if they would be interested in taking a look at this federal government program that allowed them to file a application for to win a lease for oil and gas rights on federal government land. Very successful program. Many people that did it got won leases, got paid lots of money by oil companies, and it was truly a workable thing. Not everybody got a lease, but that was the idea. Okay. So I had to dial 100 dials a day to reach maybe, I don't know, 15, 20 secretaries or offices or bosses. And these names were qualified as CEOs, vice presidents, presidents of companies. And there are millions in the country, so there wasn't a shortage of people to talk to. But the thing was you had to open the door and create interest and qualify. So the idea was, well, we could send out packages to anybody. However, the bottom line was we wanted to talk to people that were interested, not people that were just looking or didn't care or weren't qualified or couldn't afford to do the program because the program cost money to do. So you learned how to qualify people by asking a series of questions. So a lot of times when we're talking about this business, we're told to talk to anybody that walks, and I agree. I think you should. But at the same time that I think you should also be learning how to qualify when you're talking to people to see if you've got the right person for the right job. So, and again, what prevented people from learning how to qualify is not understanding the business. They didn't understand what to do. They didn't understand how it worked. They didn't understand the compensation plan. They didn't learn what to say. And so they thought that, they could just go talk to people, they'd buy the product or become a distributor, and that was all there was to it. But there's a lot more to it, and it's not difficult. It's not hard work. It's just simply a matter of asking the right questions. So in this video, it just talks about that idea that you need to learn how to qualify the people you're talking about to make sure that they fit what you need. And this is what's really important. It's what you need. And then, so for example, I'm going back to my story. I need to make $8,000 a month. So in that particular situation, I then knew, based on finally talking to my mentor and getting squared, that I needed two to three or four or five people that wanted to do the same thing I did. So I thought, well, I need to make $8,000 a month. And this is pretty exciting. And if I found three or four or five people that needed to make the same thing or similar, I think we'd be in good shape because reality comes about by agreement. So if two people agree on something, then you're more apt to create a result that both people want. If people are opposed to what you want, it's more difficult. And we see this in society, we see this in relationships, we see this all over the place, where if there's no agreement, then nothing happens. So the idea here is in the process of qualifying is to find people that have similar interests that you do, have similar desires, maybe for completely different reasons, but similar, and are interested in solving the problem. And that's the key issue was the problem. So then I came up with this. Well, if the whole idea, would you be interested in making an extra five or $10,000 a month? And if they really had the problem, I understood that they would be thinking about that and they would work in that direction. So each of the my six key people that I brought into this business were all brought in on the same basis. They had a need and they wanted to solve that need. And now the reasons, okay, the purpose for each one was slightly different. So the bottom line here is when you communicate with people, the idea is you're looking to find what you need based on how it works. Okay, so you can play with that. So right now, that's all we're going to do for this video. So let's go back and review and see what your homework's going to be. So what you really want to do here is you want to go back to the number 10, where we started today, and look at number 11. Create your launch strategy. Work this out with your mentor. Set up your first target of going silver. You want to draw this out. Make sure you read the video or listen to the video, watch the video on the business of going silver. Draw out your silver plan, see what it looks like, or somebody else's that you're working with. At your launch date, work out your approach strategy with your sponsor and mentor. Review your list of potential people. Start contacting, inviting them. Do the ABCs, that you need to do to get it going, and keep in mind that when somebody really wants to build, go help them build. And then after silver, you're going to go gold. Do the projects that need to be done. So you got those dialed in. You're creating your story, building your silver distributorship, and of course on prospecting and qualifying. And basically, what you want to do is write all this stuff out, review what you did in the first lesson and for the first video, and tie the two together. And in the final video that we'll do, we'll bring up the last part of this. You have the document, so you'll see what it's all about. So, bye for now. We'll see you on the next video.